So today's video is not going to be my typical video. It's going to be really raw and real. And I feel like there is a tendency on, especially social media, to only show the audience what I want them to see. I mean, not that I always do that, but there is a tendency to only want to show the positive and the wins in life and when everything is pretty and nice. But that's not real. That's not how life actually works. And there are moments that are everything but, and they're not what we want. They're not pretty. They're not what we want. But I want to talk in this video about what happened, how I arrived at my decision, why this conversation is so important, and how to move forward. So what happened? If you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm a lifelong horseback rider, horse lover, and multi-horse owner. I mean, I'm saying that like I own a lot of horses. I've only ever owned one horse at a time, but 3 years ago, I got this horse that was, oh my gosh, we had so many dreams, and he was young. I didn't do the very first rides, but I basically started him under saddle, and he was challenging in many ways, but I also really enjoyed this partnership and just riding and just being around horses and being around him. And he was such a beautiful animal and being. And so about a year ago or so, I could feel that something wasn't quite right, and something that I couldn't put my finger on, that I had my vet come out and we would check him for lameness, and he wasn't lame, and we checked him for gastric ulcers, which is very common in especially horses that are living in less than ideal environments and are used as sport horses. And then I had a big workup at the University of California, Davis Teaching Hospital, and they found a little bit, but not enough, not where everybody said like, oh, okay, this makes sense. This is why he's a little lethargic, and this is why he's a little crooked and not even, and so forth. And then I brought him back for some more imaging, and they told me that I should be ready to have some difficult conversation and be ready to make difficult decisions. So I had a somewhat sleepless night, and even though something had entered my mind, I wasn't quite ready to go to these places yet. A long story short, and if you have more questions about this, if you're a horse owner and you'd like to really know more details, leave me a comment below and I'd be happy to expand on it. They called me, and after the imaging, he had some vertebrae in his neck that were compressing his spinal cord, and that made him be as lethargic as he was, as uneven moving as he was, and also not being able to coordinate his legs, and especially his hind legs. So they were wondering if I could make a decision on the spot, because he was still under general anesthesia, and they asked if I wanted him to recover, and I said yes, please, because I can't really make a decision right now. A few days ago, so the entire morning I spent on the phone with my vet and a trainer and some friends and his breeder, and I was basically just trying to see if there's any stone that I hadn't turned. But the ultimate decision was to let him go. And the reason for that is he looked so healthy and happy, and from the outside you would have never known. But they call that a dynamic compression, which means that the compression was there when he was moving his neck. And even if I had put him in a pasture, some beautiful space like this here, he could have tweaked his neck in just some weird move and collapsed. The danger is that if there's a human right next to him, that he collapses on top of the human, and that's a safety issue. Maybe there's another horse that he collapses onto. So the risks are there. And also, I was thinking, just being in a body that you can't trust, that you don't know where your limbs are, must be really unsettling. And so, yeah, I'd love to share how, we did all these beautiful rides, which we did. And we had some wins at shows, which we hadn't yet because we hadn't gone there yet. And that everything was, happily lived after, living happily ever, whatever that's called. You know what I mean? I'm a little bit blurred from sleepless nights. And I have a cold on top of it, even though I took something because I didn't want to sound so pathetic in this video. I'm stuffed up and everything. Go figure. Where was I? So I tried to really separate out my emotions and my view of things and really what's in the best interest of the horse. And the best interest of the horse was to let him go to these eternal pastures with grass on tap, no pain. And yeah, so that happened just yesterday. It's still really raw. I had another sleepless night. And even though I am very emotional about it and I'm very open about it, I also want to allow for the grief because I don't want to stuff it down. I want to look at it. I want to give it some room because I think it is important. And so why is this conversation so important? As soon as we have animals in our life that, I don't want to say we purchase an animal, but that's essentially what we did. We become owners of animals. I think we also assume a responsibility. And the responsibility is not just treat them well and feed them well and make sure that they're, that they have the best quality of life. But that also means that when their quality of life is not given anymore, that we put an end to the suffering and that we recognize when that moment comes and that we don't look away, that we don't shy away. And this is not where it's pretty, but I think that as animal people, we have to assume that risk and we have to absolutely assume that responsibility, which is what I try to do. And I think it's also really important to tell kids that yeah, it's so cute when we have puppies and kittens and baby horses and foals, but there is an end to their life. And sometimes they make those decisions for us. They just die on their own. And sometimes we have to make that decision. And I feel fortunate in that I was supported by a great team of vets and my local vet, and my family's been really supportive. My friends have been so supportive. My barn community, everybody's just really been supportive of my experience and just holding space for me and offering to be there for me in whichever way I would need anyone. And what does that mean moving forward? First of all, I want to allow for the grief, but also recognize that life goes on. We have other animals. We have a dog. We have the cats. I have my husband and my sons. And so life is not going to stop. And I'm trying to find a balance between allowing for the grief and giving it room and going through that process of emotionally trying to catch up with what happened. There's still moments when it feels so surreal that I just don't have him in my life anymore. Especially since he was fairly young, but also, to be so grateful for the time that we had together and so grateful that I can have these animals in our lives, and they bring us so much joy and the occasional tears, and I have so much else to be grateful for. I have you guys watching and allowing me to be real here and not just show you the pretty moments and the beautiful loaves of bread and the delicious dishes that I make, but also I know that you know that there's more to life and it's more dimensional than just that. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for my own health. I'm grateful for all the resources that I had figuring out what was wrong with this horse and how we could help this horse. So that's what moving forward is like for me at this point. And will there be another horse in my future? Absolutely, yes. I don't know when that's going to happen. I want to really let go of Donnie on all levels, emotionally and intellectually, and just, not rushing on to the next thing. But, I'm honest. I'm a horse enthusiast. I love having horses in my life. I just, it makes me so happy, this equine companionship and the partnership and being out here in nature and, just being one with the horse. So there's so much beauty in it that, I need to allow for that, and before I am ready to have my next partner in my life. I'm also grateful that I did take the difficult time to spend the last moments with him, feeding him carrots almost on tap. I know in this life he has carrots on tap, but I was feeding him a bunch of carrots and just spending the last moments with him and just being there with him, and not just sending him off without having said goodbye, having some closure, having some sense of, I performed my duties, and I didn't shy away from that. It's almost like when you have a human partner and when they become sick, you don't want to deal with it. So no, you can't do that. So that's what I wanted to share in this video. I would love to have more of a conversation with you if you have a similar experience, if you have any questions about it, especially how to talk to kids about it at various ages. We have lost animals before, and I had to talk to my sons about that and how to deal with their grief at the various ages that they were. So drop me a comment, let me know, and I'm so grateful for all you to be here. You may have noticed that we just hit 100,000 subscribers, and for that, I am also super grateful. It is so amazing to me, this support and the human connections, even though it's all virtual through a screen and a device. But I know you guys are out there, and I can feel your support, I can feel your connection, and that means a lot to me. I am looking forward to seeing you in my next video that is hopefully on a more uplifting note and back to the things that I do love sharing, and I know that you always love coming to my channel for.